Hello everyone, are you ready for another anime recap? Then subscribe right now to this Anime Plots YouTube channel and watch this full video. Did you subscribe? Okay, let's start the video. At the Soul Society Department of Research and Development, the people monitoring the movement of hollows notice a possibility that the boundaries between the world of living and Soul Society will be blurred in just a few days. Oblivious to this development, Squad 13 officers Ryunosuke and Shino are tasked to monitor the situation in Karakura town. Shino is easily knocked out by a hollow. Ryunosuke fails to defend himself as well and is about to be killed when Ichigo, Orihime, Sato, and Ishida not only easily defeat the hollows but also help the duo heal from their injuries. 6 masked men suddenly arrive to 1st Division office and supposedly kill one of his men. They proclaim to be from the Wandenreich and declare war on the Soul Society and went back to their place. A furious man sitting on a throne, who asks returned party about their report on the mission. Yuki receives a phone call from the Department of Research and Development control room. Everyone is informed that 7 unidentified men managed to infiltrate Squad 1 office. Nell meets Ichigo asking for help. He tells Ichigo about the recent attack on Hueco Mundo and the kidnapping of Tyr Harabel, who has been ruling the home of hollows. Ishida immediately clarifies his position by refusing to go to Hueco Mundo with others. Hueco Mundo Quilge is confronted by Lord Aizen's aides Loli Iron and Manoli Malia and Tres Bastias of the 3rd Espada. Tyr Harabel came for aid. By the time Ichigo makes it to the battlefield, he sees Cyan Sung's son, Emilo Apache, and Francesca Mila Rose lying motionless on the ground, while Quilge looks back at him with confidence. Ichigo uses Getsuga Tenso against the Quincy captain. He fails to cause any noticeable injury. Just when Quilge is about to attack him with the power of Bisquiel, a creature named Aeon made by the left hand of Tres Bastias attacks him. When everyone thinks that the battle is won, Quilge emerges from the ruins and starts gathering reishi from the surrounding very aggressively to assume a new form. Massive flames soon erupt in multiple locations all over the Soul Society. The Sternitters also appear. Kuchiki decides to help Raiji and Kuchiki decides to use his Bankai to end up getting their Bankai stolen. Mr. Akon decides to contact Ichigo. Meanwhile, Quilge is frustrated that he is unable to steal his enemy's Bankai. Urahara uses this opportunity to land a fatal blow at the chest of the Quincy captain that leaves a big hole. He then asks Ichigo to leave for the Soul Society. Ichigo notices that the entrance to the Soul Society is closed by the Quincy powers. It turns out that Quilge is still alive, suddenly cut into 2 halves by an invisible power that leaves Urahara, Orihime, and Sato in a state of shock. Note goes on to use Byakuya's own Bankai on him and seriously injures him in the process. Renji could no longer allow him to fight alone and tries to intervene only to face a similar fate. Rukia also gets attacked and left for dead. Unlike others, Kenpachi Zaraki manages to defeat Sternritter Q, R, and Y and confronts Yawatch to fight. Quincy Overkill proceeds to try and attack Hisagi exactly like he killed Sasaki, but suddenly the head captain Genryusai Yamamoto intervenes and saves him. The head captain proceeds to lunge toward the Overkill and manages to kill him within a few seconds. After killing the Overkill, Yamamoto does not hesitate even once and immediately takes the fight to Quincy King Yuhawatch. Meanwhile, Ishida learns that Licht Reich, the Quincy Empire that existed almost 1,000 years ago, planned to eliminate all the hollows. When the Soul Society opposed this plan, they went as far as invading the spirit world. When Yamamoto and Yuhawatch finally face each other, he finally reveals his powerful Bankai Zanka no Tachi. After using Bankai on Yuhawatch to deliver a fatal blow, Yamamoto begins to walk away thinking that the battle has come to an end and he has won. Unfortunately, this turns out to be a huge mistake as the person he just fatally injured is actually Sternritter Y or Royd Lloyd. The real Yuhawatch suddenly appears behind Yamamoto. When the head captain is about to use his Bankai again, Yuhawatch stole Yamamoto's Bankai and he attacks him using a broadsword. Yuhawatch managed to deliver the final blow on the head captain. Ichigo manages to get out of Quilge's jail and arrives in the Soul Society. Without any fear, he decides to challenge Yuhawatch but easily manages to overpower him. He goes on to state that Quilge's jail was made to restrain enemies, but according to him it is unable to contain Quincy's. Institute Shinigami knows nothing about himself or even his mother. Then Yuhawatch and other Quincy's left Soul Society. Ichigo learns the horrific truth that his Zanpakuto will never get fixed as it was destroyed in the Bankai state. Squad 0 or the Royal Guard arrives at Soul Society. Senjumaru Shutara immediately summons Renji, Rukia, and Byakuya and their swords. Ichib calls Ichigo to come to Soul King Palace to try to reforge his Zanpakuto. After arriving in the Soul Society, Ichigo is first taken to Tenjiru Kirinji's palace. Upon arrival, he finds himself sitting in a hot spring with Kirinji and is shocked to see Rukia, Renji, and Byakuya drowning in the water. Kirinji explains that the wounded spiritual pressure and blood of the trio will be driven out by the healing spring. After spending time in the healing hot spring, Ichigo appears to have recovered a lot. In order to prove the efficiency of his techniques, he punches Ichigo and Renji to prove that they are fit enough. This means that it's now time for them to go to the Kiryu Hikafuna's palace. She had intelligently incorporated an entirely new spiritual pressure in Ichigo and Renji through the food she cooked for them. Since Hikafuna has done her job, Ichigo and Renji are now ready to meet Uetsu Nimaya, the creator of Zanpakuto. Meanwhile, in the Soul Society, Shunsui Kyoraka is appointed as the new head captain. He decides that Yuno Hana will teach Zanjutsu to Zaraki. Yuno Hana and Zaraki eventually meet each other in the 8th level of Central Grade Underground Prison named Muken. Zaraki exposes that Yuno Hana used to be regarded as one of the most notorious killers in Seireidii. Yuno Hana stabs him in his neck and he appears to space out for a moment and realizes that his sword is back in his hand. He does not have time to think about what happened, but it is quite likely that Yuno Hana has used her advanced knowledge of medical techniques to heal Zaraki at the moment he appeared to have spaced out. Her efforts eventually bear fruit as Zaraki eventually manages to overpower her and delivers a fatal blow, following which Yuno Hana dies in his arms. Meanwhile, Renji and Ichigo reach Nimaya's palace. The duo is taken to the real Huden. In the hut, they saw Asachi, which is Zanpakuto of a low-ranking Shinigami that does not have any name. Nimaya promised if they made it out alive from there, then he will consider fixing their Zanpakuto. 3 days later, the Renji is still standing tall, but Ichigo has failed to pass the test. Nimaya decides to not even acknowledge him as a Soul Reaper anymore and sends him back into the human world. Back in the human world, Isshin Kurosaki meets his son to finally tell him about his mother. About 2 decades ago, Masaki used to live with the Soken Ishida family. Meanwhile, Isshin was the captain of Division 10. Elsewhere, Sosuke Aizen is experimenting with holofication with Jin and Konami's help. Masaki, who is sitting in her room, can feel the spiritual pressure getting closer and realizes that a Hollow and a Soul Reaper are most likely fighting each other. Masaki arrives on the scene. Masaki turns the tables and kills him in one blow. Once the battle is won, Isshin and Masaki get to know each other. All of a sudden Masaki loses consciousness and falls to the ground. Ryukin immediately takes her to get treated. Isshin will have to get his soul, tie his soul with her and lose his Soul Reaper powers in the process. Despite knowing the downsides, he agrees to put himself on the line to save Masaki's life. After Ichigo has learned about his past and the truth about the death of his mother, he is taken back to Huden by Mera. When he turns his attention to the Asachis there, all of them bow in front of him and he walks between them to eventually find the one he is looking for. Nimaya then takes Ichigo to his forge within a waterfall, where his bodyguards join him. He then finds out that Zanjetsu actually represents his Quincy powers while the Zanpakuto spirit is his inner hollow. Ichigo then goes on to gain 2 new swords and finally begins to become truly acquainted with his powers.
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.